Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to the Highlands here in Scotland once again, and we're going to go back to the Black Isle, and we're taking a look at a beer from the older of the two breweries that you'll find up there. And it's been a while since I've reviewed anything from these guys, and they are of course famed for their organic beers that they produce. So really looking forward to this one, and there has been a development with this brewery recently. So we're going to go back to the Black Isle Brewery, and look at this. It's a beer in a can. It's a tallboy can as well. So for this one we're going to have a taste of their Rhode, which is a New England style pale ale, coming in at 5% ABV, and as far as I can remember this is the first organic New England type beer that I've tried. So really interested to try this one, and it is quite cool actually to see one of the more established, I guess you could say, breweries in Scotland starting to experiment a little bit more. Most of the beers that these guys do are kind of more traditional styles, if you like, so it is cool to see them having a go at something that's a little bit more sort of new world, I guess, as well. So really looking forward to this review, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual in my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Black Isle Brewery before. No doubt I will add some more in the near future, particularly if they're experimenting with new beers. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed. This one will appear in there, of course. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then about the Black Isle Brewery. So the brewery was founded back in 1998 when David Galwin converted a group of farm buildings at Munlochy into a brewery. The farm that the brewery's on is called the Allen Grange, and the land that the farm is actually situated on was described as being of superior quality for the brewer and distiller by Sir Roderick Mackenzie back in his statistical account of 1790. And the name Allen Grange apparently translates from Gaelic into English as meaning a superior, or meaning a fertile field of corn, I should say, rather. But David apparently has worked in this region of Scotland for about 20 years, and he's really committed to its preservation. And the idea behind founding a brewery was basically so that local restaurants and bars could serve a locally brewed beer, which is of course a really cool idea, because I can imagine for a long time up in the Highlands, you know, they would have been getting a lot of their beers from the likes of Tennent's in Glasgow and Caledonian in Edinburgh and things like that. I think it would, for a long time, it would have been difficult for them to get a really locally brewed beer up there. But for their first 11 years they were operating just a very, very small 5-barrel plant, but in the winter of 2008 they actually installed a new 30-barrel system in buildings that had been built on the brewery, and on the farm of course, and it actually took them about 18 months to get this whole thing set up. But they now have a conditioning capacity of 210 barrels, and they can brew 5,000 litres per brew, or if they're working at full capacity they can produce around 10,000 litres of beer per day, which is really quite big actually. But they also have a new well on the farm which they can use to source their brewing liquor, and they've got 120 acres of land which they use primarily to produce organic barley to use in their beers, which is really cool of course. And they've also got a cow that lives on the farm as well called Molly, who gives them milk, and she eats the malt from the mash tun as well. I would have thought that with that amount of beer that they're producing these days, I would have thought they would have needed more than one cow for that, so maybe they've got a few more there. But they did mention on the website that Molly the cow is still going. And my mum and dad, when they bought me a box of beers from there a couple of years back, which were the ones you saw me review, they did see Molly the cow when they were up there. So hopefully I can get up there and have a little look at the brewery one time. I think they've got a wee tasting room or something up there as well now, and they've got a bar actually, the Black Isle Bar in Inverness too, which is definitely worth checking out. A really, really pretty little town. And there's also the Tomlinson's beer shop there as well, which is also worth checking out. But yeah, really cool to see that these guys, as I say, are experimenting a little bit more. Most of their beers come in bottles, and this is the first one I've actually seen within a can. I'm filming this review for you at the start of August in 2018, and the guys in Fierce Bar in Aberdeen, where I bought this beer, told me these have only come out within the last couple of weeks. So summer of 2018 is when you started seeing the canned beers from these guys. So really cool to see that they're experimenting a little bit more. As I say, these guys are famed for having organic beers, if you like, and it is cool to see them experiment a little bit more now with the new world styles. But that's all you really need to know about the brewery. If you want to read anything more, do check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can check them out on Facebook and things like that, where they're always keeping you up to date as well. The latest thing I heard from these guys was that they were actually going to open up a hostel in the centre of Inverness too, which would be really cool. But I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open it up. pub. Of course, the standard sort of label from these guys tends to be the thistle in the middle of the in the middle of the sort of roundel there. The artwork on this one is of course a little bit different from the regular bottles because it's the can one, and on the back there you can see the vegetarian and organic symbol there as well, so it's listed by the EU Agriculture as being organic. They're certified, I should say. But yeah, nicely presented beer, this one. As I say, 5% New England type pale ale. It's Simcoe and Nelson Sauvin that they've used in this one, and the malt base is lager, caramels and oats apparently. So yeah, we'll see how we get on with this one. Two really nice hops in this. So without further ado then, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting. Like I said, this is going to be the first ever organic type New England type pale or New England type beer that I'm reviewing for you. So hopefully it's a good one. I have enjoyed the Black Isle beers in the past. So there we are. Let's leave it at that for just now. Or maybe there's a wee bit left in there. We'll just pour it all in because normally with these beers you do want to get the sediment in with them, particularly with the New England ones. And I'll tell you something, as soon as you open that up, the Nelson Sauvin comes out right at you. You can really smell those kind of lovely green grapey notes that you'll get from the Nelson Sauvin. So as you can see with this beer, it's poured a really nice kind of bright straw golden yellow actually. So there's a solid finger and a half, I would say, of a frothy quite frothy white head on this one, but it looks really, really nice. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, and quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head. The head is becoming a little bit more bumpy, of course, but it looks really quite nice actually. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then, and just see how we get on with this one. I was really quite pleased with that as it came out the can. I love Nelson Sauvin hops, of course. So yeah, with this one, it smells, it's really fruity. The main part of the aroma, of course, leans towards this sort of juicy, fruity side of things. So for me, this one, it's got the passion fruits there. The passion fruits really kind of forming the linchpin of the beer, I would say. And that'll be from the Simcoe. The Simcoe really gives you a big sort of passion fruity note. But yeah, you can definitely pick up a little bit of that kind of white, or I'm not sure if it's right to say white or green grape, whatever colour you would use. You can really smell that sort of nice light grapey note from the Nelson Sauvin. One of my favourite hops. I really love a bit of Nelson Sauvin. It's especially lovely if you put it in lagers and things like that, if you put it in Pilsner type beers. But yeah, it smells really, really good, this one. It's very straight up in its juicy fruitiness. If you sugar the beer up a little bit, you can pick out, you know, the oaty creaminess from this one. There's a little bit of definitely a little bit of that oaty creaminess coming out too, and I can definitely smell the nice sort of grassy and floral notes from the beer as well. It does smell really, really quite nice actually. It leans really towards the juicy side of things. So like I said, bit of passion fruit, definitely the nice kind of white, green, grapey things that you'd expect from Nelson Sauvin as well. Nice little bit of grassy note. In terms of the grassy and floral side of things, I'd say this beer leans a little bit more towards the grassy side of things, but you can pick up just a little bit of that floral, that slightly spicier floral note to that too, but mainly grassy. But nice little bit of a kind of oaty, creamy quality to it. Nice little bit of biscuity sweetness in there as well. But overall, it smells really nice. Pretty much what you would expect from a New England type pale ale. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this beer and see how we get on. So this one is the Roadrunner, a New England type pale ale from the Black Isle Brewery, of course, famed for their organic beer. So the first organic New England type pale ale that I'm trying for you on the channel. So let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, it's pretty good actually. I have to say they've done a good job of this. Yeah, what I'll say about this beer, it's a really quite light, easy drinker this. 5%, you know, maybe you could term this one a kind of session, sort of a New England type session beer as well. I would say that about this. It's really easy to drink this one, which is that I would say does make it really quite nice. The malt base again is very, very smooth, and that's one of the things I've always noticed about organic malts actually. There was a few breweries in Germany local to me when I lived in Heidelberg, that they had, you could really tell with the organic malt. It did affect the flavour a little bit, and it made the malt base just a little bit smoother. And I did find that a wee bit with the Black Isle beers as well, and you can pick up on that a little bit in this beer. But I would say the malt base in this one is lighter compared to some of the other ones that I've had from them. But yeah, that's a good beer. I will say to that, they've given a very good account of themselves with this one. As I said, the thing that's interesting for me about this is that this brewery have always kind of stuck more to traditional types of beer, if you like. And if they can produce something like that, the question is why? Why is it taking them so long to do it? So that would be the question I would pose to Black Isle Brewery, because that, you know, that's a really bloody good New England Pale Ale, that. Have a go at this beer for yourself and see what you think. You know, this one, it would stand up with, you know, it's up there with some of the things that the likes of Tempest and Cromarty could produce. If you blind tasted this beer, on the basis of what I know about Black Isle Brewery already, if I was given this beer in a blind tasting, I wouldn't have thought it would come from them. But it shows you that they're capable. If I was told this is a Scottish beer, my guess would either be that it comes from Cromarty or it comes from Tempest or something like that. That's, you know, that's the kind of level that they've done with this beer. So well done to them. So yeah, let's think about this one a little bit. So the malt base is kind of straight up. You don't expect, when it's a pale ale especially, you don't expect such a big presence from the malt base, and this one kind of delivers on that. So you can feel there's a little bit of that kind of white bready quality that just blankets the middle of your palate there. It actually takes a little bit of time for the sweetness to come out of this one. In the middle of your palate, you can really pick up a little bit of that kind of oaty creaminess to the beer. You can really feel that, and it builds and builds as you go further into the aftertaste, and it just sits there on top of that kind of smooth white breadiness, and you can pick up a little bit of that sort of organic malt smoothness that I was talking about with the beer. There's a little bit of that nice sort of sweet, that nice kind of sweet biscuity malt to the beer as well. I think it's Cara malt that they've used in this one, which does suit it. And this is a comment I've made about the New England IPAs a little bit. I do like there to be a little bit of either biscuity or caramel sweetness to them. So this beer, in a way, does kind of hit the spot for me. I'm not such a great fan of the ones that are just straight up like dextrose and kind of creamy like that. It can work, but I do think you need a little bit of sweetness to balance it out a bit, especially when you start to get above sort of 8%. I think that's when you start to need a little bit of sweetness. But the guys here are kind of showing that it works out quite well with the lower ABV ones as well. So, you know, for me, that's a good thing. I do like having a little bit of that kind of slightly caramelly, biscuity sweetness in the beer. But yeah, the malt base for me on this one is really quite nice. One of the things, and I'm sure I've said this about their other beers as well, you really can taste the water in this one. I think I say it about the Cromarty beers as well. The water up there is really good. I mean, Scotland generally, we've got very, very good quality water. And as I've said as well, some people would say the water doesn't affect the taste of the beer, but that's, to be honest, that's a load of rubbish. It really, a good water can be the difference between a good beer and a bad beer and things like that. And for me, that it's with the two breweries on the Black Isle, you really can taste the quality of the water up there. And you know, the whiskey, you can always tell in the whiskey, like in Speyside and in the Highlands, you do get really good quality water up there. For me, this beer, the quality of the water makes this beer feel a little bit lighter than I think it actually is. It makes the malt base, I would say, feel a little bit lighter. But really, for me, the sweetness, it starts off really smooth, but the sweetness of that malt base builds and builds as you go further into the aftertaste of this beer. But it's not over. The sweetness isn't overpowering in any way. It's just sweet enough, but you still have that kind of smooth, creamy note that you would expect of the New England IPA. So in the back corners of your palate, then there's a teeny little bit of earthiness there. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you start to get a nice little bit of a bit more of a kind of slightly spicy floral note to the beer, and then round the very front curve of the tongue, you get a little bit of that lighter, sort of grassy note that you would expect as well. I don't, in terms of IBUs, you know, I'd guess this beer, it's probably somewhere around the 40 or, well, no, it's a bit more than 40. I'd say it's maybe around the 50 mark. I think about 50 IBUs for this one. That's, that's a guess, of course, but I do think it's somewhere around the 50 IBU mark. And behind the front curve of the tun, of course, that's where you get that little oily bubble, where the nice kind of fruity, juicy esters start to come out of the beer. And for me, this one's got it's pretty straight up, but it's got a nice combination of flavours in there. Yeah, so this one, I would say the passion fruits are what are forming the kind of linchpin of the fruity side of this beer, and that's the Simcoe, of course, that's coming out. But then as you go further and further into the aftertaste, the passion fruit kind of fades away a little bit, and it's the grapey notes that start to come out from the Nelson Sauvin. And when you get far enough into the aftertaste, it almost comes across as having a little bit of a kind of gooseberry element to it, which is quite interesting. I really like how that kind of comes together. I mean, for their first effort at a New England Pale Ale, they have actually kept it quite simple, if you like. This beer is quite... I would say that it's one of these ones where it doesn't try to be too complex, but it does. It's very straight up, but it does what it wants to do very well. I think that's a good way to kind of sum up, where this beer's at. But yeah, I would stick with that assessment. It's the passion fruit that's in there, and as you get further into the aftertaste, it's the grapey notes from the Nelson Sauvin that really kind of start to take a hold of the flavour. As you go further into the aftertaste, I would say a little bit more of the breadiness and creaminess, that kind of starts to come out of the beer a little bit. Some of the caramelly sweetness is sitting there as well, but you've got that nice sort of grassy note from the hop linger in there, and some of the grapey notes, and just a little bit of the passion fruit as well. But overall, in terms of flavour, it's a really good beer. And as I say, in terms of like a New World beer, when these guys have stuck to traditional things mainly for most of their history, when they can produce something like that, as I say, you have to ask, why is it taking them so long to have a go at this? Because obviously they're very capable of it. So, big thumbs up to the Black Isle Brewery on this one. That's probably the most impressive beer that I've had from them. And that's not to say that I didn't like the other beers I've had from them, because I have enjoyed their other beers. But the traditional beer versus New World beer, it's a very different ball game. But for me, that beer is as good as some of the things you're going to get from the likes of Cromarty and Tempest, who are producing the really top drawer New World stuff here in Scotland. But in terms of the mouthfeel of this beer, then I would say mid-bodied. Carbonation is quite crisp on this one, I would say. The mouthfeel of this beer, it's got a little bit of that creaminess that you expect of the style, but it's a little bit more wet, this one. And again, I would attribute that to the kind of water that you get up in the Black Isle. As I say, it has this. It almost tastes minerally, if you like, but you can't really use hard water in brewing, if you like, because it doesn't particularly work, but it almost just has that nice kind of fresh minerally quality to it, this beer, and you can taste the quality of the water in the beer. The malt base overall, like I say, mainly it's quite smooth, but it has a little bit of that sweetness that builds as you go into the aftertaste. Nice little bit of hoppy bitterness. Like I was saying, I estimate about 50 IBUs for this one. Might be completely wrong, but I think about 50 IBUs for this beer. For this one, the fruitiness, it's got a nice little bit of juicy fruitiness, and the hops, I would say as well, at the back of the palate, they do sort of smooth out a little bit. You do have just a little touch of that earthiness, but overall it's a really top quality beer, and it's cool to see one of the more established breweries having a go at the New World thing. So big thumbs up to Black Isle Brewery for this one. Hopefully, pardon me, they continue to experiment a little bit in this kind of light, because they've shown they're very, very capable. So I think very exciting times ahead for these guys. Hopefully I can try a few more of the beers that they release in cans. It's really cool to see this one, and I'm really glad to, it's quite exciting to see another brewery kind of trying its hand at the New World type of things, because there's most of the breweries in Scotland are traditional type breweries, so it is cool to see them having a go at these American type beers. But so big thumbs up to Black Isle Brewery on this one. Long may it continue. So let's leave it at that for this one. So yeah, this was the Roadrunner, a New England style pale ale at 5% ABV from Black Isle Brewery, who of course are famed for their organic beers. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Black Isle Brewery, of course, as well. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. Until the next time, Slange just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Roadrunner New England Type Pale Ale from Black Isle Brewery at Munlochy on the Black Isle in the Highlands in Scotland. Slange just now. Cheers. Check this one out.